I know what you're thinking, punk. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Me and this excitement, I kind of lost track myself. But this is a 44 Magnum, most powerful handgun in the world, and it would blow your head clean off. You have to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
That's Clint Eastwood stuff. That makes me want to take one of these and put it in my mouth.
I'm BATJAC J.W. right here with you with I Carry One. Now, we're doing this video right here. As you can see, we got a table full of really cool double action revolver. One that really stands out. A lot of movies had them in it, but there's only one, Dirty Harry. That's right, we're talking about the Model 29 Smith and Wesson. Ah, man, you know that 1971 rolled around and Smith and Wesson said, "God bless Clint Eastwood."
They did. They did. But it also, it really aggravated guys like me, because there I was sitting just a few dollars away from having enough money to walk into my local gun emporium
and buy one,
and
right?
plop down my money for a Model 29. And then Dirty Harry hit. And within a week, you couldn't find a Model 29 anywhere. Well, that isn't exactly true. I mean, you could find them.
Yeah.
But you had to pay scalper's rates to get that pistol, and it was just absolutely aggravating.
That's amazing.
So it became an odyssey for me to eventually wind up with.
Well, we got a couple of them out on the table. Just a couple.
A couple of examples.
Right.
You know, through the gambit and gauntlet of model numbers. And
I remember trying to get one myself, and I remember this guy opening up a box very similar to what you got to see here, with it all just in its complete glory there with the blue velvet and all that.
Oh yes.
And man, I tell you, when I wanted to buy it from him, I don't know if that guy needed to make a house payment, but the price he listed me was, and this was a good 7 years ago, that it was astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that were willing to, back then, to, well, they still exist, but
yeah,
the guys that were willing to take advantage of people at that level, with that amount of blatant disregard for anything to do with decency, to name a price on this, when you could turn around and buy one of the other models, say the 57 or the Model 25, for a third of the price that these were selling for before Dirty Harry. They were the exact same price for all 3 models. But all of a sudden now the 29 has gone through the roof.
Oh yeah, and I think it's still their most popular double action revolver.
And it is. It's the mythos attached to it.
Yeah.
You know, the series of Dirty Harry movies, and then the popularity of the gun itself, and then it caught on with the hunting crowd. And the metallic silhouette shooters really took off with the gun because it was a powerful handgun, quite capable of taking down a grizzly bear.
And it's kind of, for me, I feel like you can't bring these out and not mention his name, Elmer Keith.
Oh yes.
Because really, Elmer is responsible for why we have it.
Oh yes. He went through enough Colt 45s developing this cartridge. He blew up I don't know how many of them.
Oh man,
until he finally approached old Mr. Wesson at Smith and Wesson, and they sat down and had a powwow and convinced him to market the Model 29 at the same time that he was marketing his new cartridge.
Yeah, and if I recall right, he actually had Remington build a cartridge.
Exactly.
That's why you'll see it 44 Mag Rem.
And say, well, that's the other name. 44 Remington Magnum.
Okay.
Is the proper name for the cartridge. And that's odd that Remington picked that up, but they became famous for that car. Although everybody and his brother makes loadings for the 44 Magnum these days. Anything from not much, about 44 special levels, all the way up to the full-blown Magnums. And they're extremely powerful cartridges. And the gun, for all practical purposes, is there are a number of people that this is too much gun for.
Yeah.
It's past their level of comfort to be able to shoot a caliber of this magnitude, and that's why they call it a Magnum.
I recall when I first started messing with them, I took it to the range and fired some Magnums. I thought that was great. And then I discovered 44 Specials. And what I learned was this gun with 44 Special is amazing. It's so smooth. It is so accurate. I mean, you could really reach out there. Like the 8 3/8 model, I recall shooting like at 110 yards, 8-inch plate on this thing, and ringing that plate with this thing, 8 3/8.
Oh, it's quite capable. Actually, it's the lethality of the 44 Magnum cartridge, especially in the 8 3/8 inch,
Right.
will really reach out there.
Yeah.
And it has enough terminal ballistics, even at 200 yards, to drop a large game animal.
Yeah.
You know, and at close range, it has the stopping power for even dangerous game.
Yeah, I read in an NRA magazine that somebody actually dropped a polar bear with one of these.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Because they're at this time, I don't think there's any big game animal on this continent,
Yeah.
and a good part of Africa, that hasn't been taken successfully with the 44 Magnum.
That is so cool. Now, one thing before we get going further into here and just chatting around, this video here is actually for one of you folks. I do apologize in advance if I mispronounce your last name, but this one here is from Michael Bellar. With a comment that read this: you could do 100 videos on this gun and I still wouldn't be bored. So here you are. Hopefully you're not bored during this one.
Well,
That's a really cool one you have in your hand
Yeah.
there. That's a Lou Horton special edition one.
oh yes, that's a sweet little
Talk about
limited
a snub
edition
nose,
run.
yeah, a package deal like that.
But you know, I'm with Michael on
Yeah.
the deal. You mentioned him that now. How can anybody become bored when you're talking about 44 Magnum Model 29 in particular?
Right.
Now, granted, there's a lot of manufacturers make other handguns
Correct.
in that caliber,
But,
but the mystique is built around the Model 29.
yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
When you got like this one right here, this right here you're looking at, that's the ultimate Dirty Harry gun. This is a vintage early 70s pinned and recessed 6.5-inch barrel, checkered walnut grips. That's the deal right there. I mean, that's when you're talking about Dirty Harry.
Yes, when
And
you're talking about Dirty Harry, that is
yeah,
Dirty
that's
Harry's
the
gun.
Dirty Harry gun.
I mean, the guys will pick up an 8 3/8.
well, for me, it was taxi driver.
That's a Dirty Harry gun.
Yeah.
But it's not the Dirty Harry gun.
Yeah.
That Dirty Harry gun is this
that.
one.
And we were lucky to have a couple of them here on the. This one here is in the box with the mahogany box, all the
original,
tools,
yeah.
the paperwork, everything right there. I mean, that's really cool. This is a true original old box.
Yeah. And I don't know if they could sell it. It does have the
logo and the paperwork.
the blue monogram logo.
Yeah.
And it's not the more recent stamp burned logo.
Right. It's the old.
It's their original sticker on an American walnut box.
Yeah.
And this is the true blue. First, you know, the first couple of 2 or 3 editions of this or models of this was actually issued in these boxes, and they were considered, particularly in this size of frame, in frame, was the presentation grade. And the bluing and the finish and fit on these guns do reflect that.
Oh yeah, when you're talking, and all of these are the vintage originals. None of these are the newer ones. That the finish on these, you just don't see that no more.
It to me, you look at one of the newer Smiths, and I'm not knocking them. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great handguns.
I had one.
But when you look at the models that came out of the, I don't know, 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe the early part of the 80s, that have that deep blue luster, it's just pure eye candy. That's all there is to it. That's all you can really say. It's eye candy.
That's a beautiful piece right there. What's funny is if you look at the original movie cover, and I remember this on videotape, the Dirty Harry and the Deadpool. We're not talking about that movie that, whatever, I don't even like the actor, but we're talking about the real movie called The Deadpool with Dirty Harry. Also, Paul Newman did a movie called Deadpool.
Well, I mean, the name of a movie is irrelevant.
Right. But
yeah, the Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. There's a side silhouette of his face, and then the gun's next to it. And that's an 8 3/8 barreled gun. You look at that, just because you can tell. You look from the lug, the shroud here that goes on the ejector rod to the length of the barrel to the end of the muzzle. That's where you see it.
Oh yeah.
Because you can see it on the 8 3/8 model. That it's just
it's in the posters.
Yes,
it's in the posters. I remember those old posters.
Those are cool stuff. Yeah, I remember I bought this one, and this one came. I got this one off an auction, and I totally bought this with the gut feeling and what I knew by just looking at really bad pictures of this thing. I noticed there wasn't much of a turn ring on it when I purchased it. That's what I kind of went with. And somebody had put a really ugly apparatus on it and everything for other things, which I totally restored the thing back to its original, factory settings in a sense. But I paid such a low number for that. That was unbelievable, and I got it. And when I remember getting it in the FFL transfer, said, man, this thing is like probably never been fired, if not once. And whoever had it said, that's enough of that. I'm not doing it again.
I don't have that kind of luck to walk into a deal like that usually. I mean, I'm not going to say
a lot
it
of
hasn't
patience.
happened, but on a big Smith, an in frame,
yeah,
I have never been able to walk in and find one in unfired condition. Now, I've had my fair share of Smiths. You guys see a number of them on my channel.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
By the way, make sure you subscribe to I Carry One.
Oh yeah, this is BATJAC J.W. and you know who you are, so I don't need to say anything else.
But with the paperwork, when I got this, it came with the original. These are the original or the other cardboard boxes that they were offering these things in after they did away with the beautiful walnut boxes.
This I got it.
This is it. You got to talk about that.
I don't know how well you can see it. That this apparently came with this gun. The guy had made himself a shopping list on it. So I don't know if that increased the actual collector's value or not. I'm not sure.
I would like to know.
Since mine doesn't have it,
I'm
I'm
this
assuming
might
that yours
be your
is,
gun that you may have wrote this.
Yeah, I'm assuming yours has more value because it has,
Has the
it has
list.
that.
So
Mine doesn't have a shopping list on the back.
this fella took the safety and instructional materials for your Smith and Wesson firearm and
And he left you
decided
a
to.
phone number there.
Well, yeah, he made sure that he wrote what he needed to get: beer, cheese, crackers, apples, Jenkins at 6 o'clock.
I think someone's having a wine and crackers out on the patio. That's what I think.
So,
And maybe it was a barbecue, and that was going to be their barbecue gun. Maybe that was it. I
hey,
don't know.
maybe. So, hey, maybe this is your firearm, and here it is on video. Now it's a star on the channel with the box. I still got the box.
Oh, yeah.
You got to keep the box.
Well, the boxes are, they're part of the mystique on this gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, they go and buy themselves a 44 Magnum. And it doesn't necessarily a Smith, but the cartridge itself, after they shoot a cylinder or two through it, they decided that maybe a 38 Special is more in line with what they really wanted to start with. But yeah, some of the 44s you can pick up are low use for a reason. I mean, they're not the cannon they're made out to be. But people with small hands will find this caliber uncomfortable to shoot.
It can be.
It can be, especially with full bore Magnum loads.
I mean, try shoot that Lou Horton there with buffalo bore or something like that. That's going to have a handful.
Yeah, a little bit of Underwood or buffalo bore.
Yeah.
And that would be.
Feel like Lee
It
Marvin.
would be.
in
It
Point
could be
Blank.
punishing. Yeah, punishing. I think is the word we're looking for. But it's punishing on both ends.
Right.
It's whatever you go down range at.
Oh yeah.
It's
it's
going to punish
definitely-
it too. But it is going to have some recoil. Some very, very noticeable felt
Without
recoil
a certain.
because of the solid steel backstrap. The wood grips help, but that is a solid steel backstrap into the palm of your hand, and the energy is going to be transferred directly back, and you are going to notice it.
And something else to talk about here with all these that we have out here. We have all the original grips. The original wood grips is so important on all these. This one, most of these, what do they call them, like presentation kind of grips? Target grips.
That's what they were. Now, granted, on my Smiths that I intend to shoot,
Yeah.
I will remove these grips and I'll put me on some aftermarket. I'll just say aftermarket because I'm not going to shamelessly plug some other outfit anyway. Aftermarket grips on the gun, and it's strictly for preservation purposes. The grips on these guns are getting harder to find, and now
Yes,
you can
they
find
are.
some made in foreign countries, but they're not actually the same.
Yeah, they're
The
not.
wood, the density of the wood, the look, it's close but no cigar.
There's something classic about the original grips. And even looking back at like the old Coke bottle grips, they call them, because they had a palm
Right.
swell on them. I mean, just look at the prices people want for those.
Those, if you can find them on
eBay
Gunbroker
or something.
or eBay or wherever you're searching for them,
Yeah.
be prepared for the sticker price.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Especially if they have no flaws and are in really good shape.
When I picked up that Lou Horton there on the end, the fellow that I picked it up from, I walked up to his table at the show and I saw it. I said, I'm not leaving without that gun. And he told me with those grips right there, he was like, those are $300-400 just for those grips.
First of
alone.
all, that these grips are proprietary to this gun.
Yeah, you were saying that you had looked up some stuff on it.
Yeah, and they are different than the rest of the Smith grips that you can get. These are a round butt.
Yeah, those are round, but the rest of these are square.
On an end frame, this is about the only end frame you're going to find with a factory round butt. And the Lou Horton grips were minus the checkering, but they also had the deep finger grooves. And to replace these grips is next to impossible if anything happens to them.
Yeah, that's not easy to do.
No, but if you tend to use the gun much
I probably will
and
change
enjoy it the way you
Yes.
should enjoy it,
Probably get rid of those or put some other ones on there.
yeah, just to preserve these
Yes.
for the day that you might want to legacy that. Especially these are all legacy grade firearms. That these would be something that you'd want your son or your grandson or maybe your great grandson to acquire someday, and letting them go to the next generation in as pristine a condition as you can get, especially if you preserve the grips.
Yeah.
The metal finishes can be redone, but usually if you destroy a set of an original set of grips,
Yeah.
it's the damage is done.
Yes.
And
They're
finding
getting harder to get.
finding some of them are really hard to do. Now, the end frame probably being the worst of the bunch, which is
Yeah.
this size
Yeah.
frame,
True. You're right.
is finding those grips that are original.
And if you're looking at the vintage 70s, like you'll notice this one here in the front, the cutout, there is no C cutout.
True.
It's a flattened, they call it, I've heard it called the football grip because it's in the shape of a football.
They do have several different names
Yeah.
for it. It depends on what part of the country you're in. You're talking about
Yeah.
it, but it is a distinction in the grip,
Yes.
and it will pretty well guide you towards the year that you're looking at to determine when that gun was made. But the best way to find out which model and which one you've got and actually get a date and a number is right here on the inside of the crane.
Right.
You'll find the stampings on the inside on any Smith and Wesson pistol made after 1957. And you can easily look up and find out what you've got, the model numbers and all that. That applies to the entire Smith and Wesson line, from the J frames up.
Yeah.
As it's made after 57, it will have a model number as opposed to the name.
Yeah, just
Like the old J frame 36 was the
Chief Special.
Chief Special.
Yeah.
And after 57 became the Model 36. The Model 10 was the military and police, which eventually
Right.
became that.
The Model 10.
Right. But the Model 29 has always been the Model 29.
Yes.
Or Dirty Harry's gun,
Dirty
which
Harry's
is
gun.
interchangeable.
Right.
Regardless of the barrel length. And I know a lot of guys are sticklers on, well, Dirty Harry's gun was this. It had
Yes.
a 6-inch barrel. It was this and that. It was pinned and recessed, and it had all this other things going on with it. But it's the mystique built around the movie, the character, the gun, and what the movies become was they're all cult classics.
And
So
And
they've
I-
included the entire model in there, and they're all Dirty Harry guns.
at some point, I don't know where the time it happened, But Smith and Wesson decided to cut 1/2 inch off the barrel. Of
Yeah,
the 6
they
and a
did do
half
that. They
inch
made it
to
run
a
a 6
6.
inch, yeah.
And which actually we have a 6 over there
Right.
in the middle there. That's a 6.
Yes.
And if you look at it in comparison to a 6.5 vintage 70s gun, you can see that the barrel is just a tad shorter.
Yeah, I mean, discernible at a quick look, you don't really notice it
Right.
until you get a closer look and you go, wait a minute, that's
Why
not,
does that look a little
that's
different?
not a 6.5.
Right.
That is
A 6.
yeah, that's a 6 inch, and the 6.5 is more common than the 6 actually that I've seen.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I know they're classic. The new one is a true 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just forget the whole thing and just get an 8 3/8.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get more of it's more of Model 29 goodness.
I mean, it's like holding the. Some people say that's like drawing a sword, but it's actually pretty cool. I got fascinated with this because of the movie Taxi Driver, and then it being the Dirty Harry gun anyway was just a bonus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is a serious.
These were
piece.
marketed. The 8 3/8 were basically marketed as the hunter length Model 29, and they were very like I said, I mentioned earlier, with hunters and metallic silhouette shooters. And you know, I've fired just about all the lengths of the barrels, and I found the 44 Magnum to be inherently accurate in any barrel length.
Yeah.
And you know, basically, in not only the Smith, but in the Ruger and even in the Taurus, I found that the 44 Magnum cartridge is inherently accurate.
Yeah.
And fired them in carbines and rifles.
I had a 4-inch, but I had let it go. Yeah, just as things happen.
Notice that.
Yeah, but the Dirty Harry length was always my thing, because that's what really got me interested in the 29, was ultimately the movie. But as I started getting to shoot the thing and shoot the specials out of it, I said, wow, this is a really nicely balanced, accurate shooting revolver.
Sure it is. And the 44 Special in here, in this Model 29, shooting the 44 Special will actually increase the longevity of the weapon itself.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I mean, it's just like shooting 38s in a 357 Magnum, and you can equate it being the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
You're not beating the weapon to death.
Right. I'll stick with shooting specials. Mostly that's what I do. If I take it to the range, just blast some specials.
Well, the 44 Special is no slouch cartridge.
Oh, no,
either.
absolutely not.
By no means
Yeah.
a slouch cartridge.
I love hand loading the 44 Special. It is just amazing. It's just so cool.
Yeah, that's quite capable of taking medium-sized game cartridge at moderate range. So as far as taking a really far back seat to the Model 29, the 44 Special isn't really giving up a terrible amount.
Right.
Depends on how you load it. If you load it like Elmer Keith,
Yeah, you got some power there.
then you've got to basically, just might as well shoot Magnums.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, there you have it, guys. Decided to sit down with the wonderful double action Model 29 Smith and Wesson. Come on, right? How can you not love the 29?
You know, you can't say anything bad about it. Well, you can, and nobody's going to listen.
Right, there you go.
You know, like, that's almost like saying you hate Clint Eastwood.
Now, who would do something like that and make a video about something like that?
A topic for another day.
Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll check you out next time.
Shoot straight, and thanks for stopping by.
There you go. Right here on BATJAC's channel. You heard it. Catbox Productions.